Reinhold's boots sank slightly into the dust of the arena floor. The Veltaroon courtyard shimmered under Iocthus Prime's twin suns, a furnace of heat and judgment. Alien cadets, scaled, feathered, armored, formed a wide circle. Over 200 of them. All watching the single human. He heard the usual mutters. They bruise like fruit. Soft bones. Emotion clutters logic. Why even allow them here? Rien didn't flinch. He was used to it. General Threx Cavern's heavy footsteps thudded across the arena stones. The Velsheri warlord stood almost 3 meters tall, his reptilian frame wrapped in jet-black armor polished to a mirror sheen. His slit pupils locked on Rien with disdain. "You, human," Threx barked, voice thick with contempt, "step forward." Rien obeyed without hesitation. No hesitation, ever. That's how humans survived here. Threx moved like a predator, slow and theatrical. The crowd leaned in. He towered over Rien, arms crossed behind his back, tail swaying with anticipation. "You are weak. Not just in body, your species lacks focus, unity, honor. You're a mistake Concord shouldn't have made." Rien met his eyes. "We're still here." Threx's jaw flexed. "Then prove it. Endure what your kind cannot." Without warning, the general's hand shot out. The slap cracked like lightning. Open palm. Full force. A blow meant to lift Rien off the ground. But Rien didn't move. A hush rippled through the circle. Even the insectoids stopped clicking. He stood perfectly still. Blood traced from his lip, but his spine held. He slowly raised his chin. And spoke one word. 3. Threx's eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" Rien didn't answer. His hand twitched. Slightly. Controlled. His feet pivoted, not back, but forward. Close range. Too close for Threx's size to adapt. Rien's lips moved just above a whisper. 1. Threx lunged. 2. A blur. A twist. Gravity turned traitor. 3. With a sound like collapsing metal, Threx was on his knees. The alien general stared at the dirt beneath him, stunned, body refusing to rise. Rien stood behind him, hand loosely extended as if he'd only brushed off a leaf. The courtyard was dead silent. 3 seconds. That's all it took. Gasps erupted. The silence shattered like glass. What did he do? How, was that a throw? Did he enhance? No one moves that fast. Rien stepped back, breathing evenly. "Permission to speak, sir." Threx didn't respond. Not because he refused, but because he couldn't find words. His pride had been disarmed before his limbs. "You hit me," Rien said quietly, "to show dominance. But dominance isn't strength. Knowing when not to hit back is." From the observation deck above, instructors leaned forward. Recording devices glinted in the light. Someone was already replaying the last 3 seconds in slow motion. A Katerii cadet hissed from the sidelines. It was a trick. He must have used tech. Rien turned to the voice. "Check the arena scan. No neural boosters. No implants. No armor advantage. Just physics and discipline." Threx rose slowly. Pride kept his movements rigid. His eyes burned, not from pain, but humiliation. This wasn't just about one cadet. A human had made a war-bred general kneel in front of the Concord's finest. "You dare shame me," Threx growled, voice low and dangerous. "I didn't strike you," Rien said. "You fell." Murmurs turned to laughter, but not at Rien. Something had shifted in the room. The mockery of humans suddenly felt misplaced. Risky. Threx turned away without another word. The exercise ended. No ceremony. No commands. Just a silent storm of a general walking out, while every cadet's eyes followed the human who hadn't struck, yet made an empire's monster kneel. Rian didn't smile. He just wiped the blood from his mouth and headed for the barracks. One step at a time. No triumph. No swagger. But each step was louder than a war cry. The clip played across every major feed node by evening. No edits. No sound bed. Just raw surveillance footage. General Threx Cavern, towering embodiment of military dominance, being brought to his knees by a 19-year-old human cadet in under 3 seconds. The Veltaroon Academy hadn't seen disruption like this in centuries. Inside a private chamber buried beneath the East Training Dome, Rian sat in silence across from Instructor Balin, a stoic, silicon-skinned archivist of the Colliery. His glassy eyes blinked once every 30 seconds. "Your move was unorthodox," Balin said without judgment. "But precise." "It was rehearsed," Rian replied, folding his hands. "Not for Threx. For anyone who treated restraint as weakness." Balin tapped the interface on his armrest. A hologram appeared, playing the critical 3 seconds in loop. From one angle, then another. His voice remained level. "Explain your method." "No enhancements," Rian said. "Only kinetic prediction." Balin tilted his head. "Unaugmented instinct cannot account for this speed. Your body reacts before the general's strike completes." "What is the basis of that calibration?" Rian tapped his temple once. "Instinct Protocol 0. Balin paused. His next words were slower, more deliberate. "That project was banned." "Officially, yes. But Earth isn't part of the Velsheri's ethics board. It was tested voluntarily, microdose neurotraining built on cross-species combat simulations. My training group called it zeroing. You don't plan a counter. You imprint responses." "Autonomic override," Balin murmured. "You rewrote your reflex arc." Rian nodded. "Reaction without decision. Because thinking takes too long." The instructor leaned back. "You realize what this means. You didn't defeat Threx with strength. You dismantled him with what he claims your species lacks, discipline." "That's the point," Rian said. "Everyone expects us to lash out. To strike when provoked. He wanted a reason to brand humans unstable. But you didn't give him one." "No. I gave him gravity." Later, in the corridor between dormitories, Rian walked alone. He could feel it, eyes in every direction. The glances weren't contemptuous anymore. They were curious. Cautious. 2 reptilian cadets passed him in silence. No insults. No bumping shoulders. Just acknowledgement. He almost didn't recognize the absence of hostility. Then a voice called behind him. "You should have broken his jaw." Rian turned. Cadet Jorik, the Vorshan brute who'd once jammed a protein injector into his food port, approached with arms crossed. "I should have done a lot of things," Rian said. Jorik looked him over. "Never seen Threx take a hit. Not even from Commander Glav." "I didn't hit him." "That's what makes it worse," Jorik muttered. "You made him fall with grace." "He can't explain that." Rian didn't respond. Jorik's eyes narrowed. "So what happens now? Concord might like your performance. But Threx won't forget." "I'm not waiting for him to." Jorik grunted. "Well, if you're gonna take him down again, just let me watch from a better angle." He walked off. No threat. No slur. Just respect, dressed in sarcasm. That night, Rian's quarters buzzed with a secure comm line. He activated the holo. Admiral Maeve Voxtel's figure emerged. Compact, in uniform, with Earth fleet markings. "Cadet Holt," she said sharply. "You're trending on 17 Concord feeds." The footage made it to the outer circles. "I didn't leak it." "I know," she said. "The Veltaroon system did. Surveillance feeds are tied into broadcast AIs. It sensed significance. I didn't do it for spectacle." "Doesn't matter. You embarrassed one of the highest-ranking Velsheri warlords in front of a multi-species academy. Intent doesn't matter. Optics do. Rian kept his face neutral. Should I apologize? Voxtel smiled, just faintly. No. You should prepare. You've shaken a hierarchy built over generations. Threx won't retaliate openly, he knows the eyes on him. But others might. You've become a symbol. I didn't want that. Symbols don't get to choose. Be ready. The feed cut. The next day, Rian entered the observation lab for evaluation. He stepped into the neural scan pod, arms extended, eyes forward. The dome hummed to life. A voice echoed from the control room. Testing for unauthorized augmentations. Standard procedure. He stood still. Red lines traced his nervous system. A holographic silhouette mapped his skeleton, musculature, and cortex activity. No implants. No stimulants. Just a human, calibrated beyond prediction. When the scan ended, the tech hesitated. Clean. Flawless. He sounded confused. Outside the dome, Instructor Balin whispered something to the council representative. The reply was simple. File the report. Don't suppress it. By midday, the academy halls felt different. The subtle shifts, aliens who used to crowd him now stepped aside. The ones who laughed now stayed quiet. Some nodded. Not out of friendship. Not yet. But out of recognition. He passed a study pod where a group of Chris students paused their lecture recording. One of them whispered something. The rest looked over, then subtly looked away. Not shame. Calculation. In the main courtyard, he saw General Threx once more. This time, the arena was empty. No spectators. No drills. Just the two of them. Rian didn't stop walking. But Threx turned. You made your point, the general said. I didn't come to. You think you proved something? I didn't think. I reacted. Threx studied him for a long moment. His tail didn't move. No creature should move like that without enhancement. I didn't ask to be born human, Rian said. But I chose what I became. Threx stepped closer. No anger now, just a colder, sharper tone. This isn't over. Rian met his gaze. I know. The Concord Tribune released the footage under the headline, "The Knee Heard Across the Galaxy." It ran on every system-linked feed, translated into 42 species dialects. On Earth, it played beside spaceport terminals and street cafes. In the outer colonies, it ran during prime time. But on Veltarun Academy, it burned through silence. Instructors stopped mid-lecture. Training sessions paused. Even the combat sim arenas cleared out. Not because of orders, but because they were watching. Over and over. 3 seconds. One human. Rian was summoned before the Concord assessment panel that afternoon. He entered the glass chamber, greeted by a half-circle of high-ranked representatives, insectoid, avian, aquatic, silicon, no two from the same system. At the center sat Commander Alux, arbiter of interspecies conflict review. He gestured calmly. Cadet Holt. Sit. Rian did, posture straight, gaze neutral. The tribunal chamber carried no walls, just transparent boundaries that made everything feel exposed. Explain the incident from your perspective, Alux requested. I was struck without provocation. I responded with displacement technique, non-lethal, non-aggressive. Were you trained to do this? Yes, by Earth's kinetic response program. I used Instinct Protocol 0, a purely reflex-based counter. One of the panel members, a Zerati delegate with crystalline arms, leaned in. You understand how this complicates diplomacy. General Threx's Velsheri command. You, a cadet. I acted in self-control, not defiance. Another representative, the Urson from Sector Jvar, grunted. He could have killed you. You returned balance without a blow. That's new. The room quieted. Alux spoke again. Did you mean to embarrass him? No, Rian replied. I meant to not be erased. After the session, Threx was called in separately. Rian waited in the adjoining chamber. He couldn't hear what was said, but he didn't need to. It was written on the guards' faces when they walked out. The verdict arrived within hours. General Threx Cavern would be reassigned. Officially, for voluntary relocation to frontier training facilities. Unofficially, demotion. The academy didn't cheer. There was no announcement, no grand send-off. Just an absence the next day where Threx's shadow used to linger. In the dining hall, no one sat at Rian's table, but no one mocked him either. A week ago, he was invisible. Now, his presence shifted conversations. That evening, Jorek stopped by Rian's table with a tray. He didn't ask, just sat down. You humiliated him, Jorek said. But you didn't gloat. I don't have the luxury, Rian answered. Jorek chewed thoughtfully. You're strange. You act like you don't care, but you calculate every move. Rian nodded slightly. Calculation is how humans survived extinction-level winters with stone knives. Jorek laughed. We had claws. We had fire and a plan. Another cadet joined. Then two more. They didn't speak much. Just ate in the same space. For the first time, Rian didn't dine alone. Later, he stood in the academy's open sky dome, staring up at stars he didn't know the names of. He wasn't homesick. Not exactly. But the air here lacked something. Familiarity. Memory. Footsteps approached. Balin, the Kaleri instructor, stood beside him. You've altered something, Balin said softly. Didn't mean to. That's the nature of disruption. It rarely asks permission. Rian exhaled slowly. Do they really think one human proving he can stand changes Earth's standing? No, Balin replied. But it changed how they look. Perception is the first step to respect. Rian turned. Will it last? Long enough for the next human to not have to kneel. A message came from Earth Fleet Command the next morning. Not a congratulations, but a transfer. Rian Holt was being reassigned to the diplomatic corps. Not because of punishment. Because now, he was relevant. His actions had triggered a wave of interest from species previously hostile to human inclusion. Questions, requests, dialogues. Earth needed someone who had earned attention the hard way. At first, Rian hesitated. He wasn't trained for politics. But the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. People only listen after they're forced to look. His final day at Veltarune arrived quietly. No parade. No speech. Just a duffel bag and a shuttle code. But before he left, something unexpected happened. As he stepped through the central atrium, the cadets, hundreds of them, stood in formation. Not in salute. But acknowledgement. One by one, as he passed, they tapped the center of their chest, Veltarune's sign of earned respect. The last to do it was Jorek, who offered only a gruff nod. Rian paused, returned the gesture. Then walked through the hangar doors without a word. He left the academy the way he entered, quietly, with little fanfare. But he left it different. And behind him, the whisper spread. That's the species you mocked.